of our imagination, shadows of thoughts that haunted us throughout the day, fleeting glances, faces, emotions, all intertwined within our minds by day, and by night, they weave themselves into stories within our dreams. But others believe dreams are something more, something eternal, that dreams are a secret world where souls meet even when separated by hundreds of kilometers, even if they have never crossed paths in real life. After all, dream is the truth hidden deep within our subconscious. I'm sitting on a bench, my back resting against the cold wooden slats. I gaze at the lake, where golden rays of sunlight playfully shimmer on the water like scattered diamonds, while birds circle in the sky, singing their mysterious song. The wind gently brushes my face and stirs my hair. Somewhere nearby, I can hear the soft murmur of a fountain, the rhythmic, tender sound of water that soothes and seems to embrace me with its melody. Its transparent streams remain unseen to me, yet they create a sense of unreal calm. I turn my head to the side. In the distance, I spot the silhouette of a person. Strange, at this hour, there's almost never anyone here. Within a few minutes, I can already see the figure clearly. A man. He's walking with confidence, as if heading straight toward me. Mind if I join you? Sure, I replied while continuing to gaze at the lake. A few seconds of awkward silence passed, and then he finally started the conversation. I'm Aaron. What's your name? I'm Nora, I answered coldly. Nice to meet you. Likewise. Within a minute, a conversation had already begun between us. It was strange I was seeing this person for the first time. We'd been talking for less than an hour, yet it felt as if I had known him all my life. The conversation was effortless and engaging. I felt a strange flutter in my chest that couldn't be described in words. And then, right before my eyes, as if in some kind of surreal film, all the colors around me began to fade. Everything turned translucent, like glass. I flinched. Eyes opening. It was just a dream, I murmured, opening my eyes. I'm lying on my bed staring at the ceiling. My room is empty and quiet. Only the morning sunlight filters through the slightly open curtains. Inside me, there's a strange feeling as if butterflies are fluttering within. His face and voice resurface in my memory. Strange, I can't remember Era's face, but it feels like we've known each other, I whispered to myself. I turned onto my side and closed my eyes, wanting to see that dream again, just for a moment to imagine him and to understand who he is. Alarm clock sound. I opened my eyes abruptly. I had completely forgotten I have classes today. The alarm kept screaming, or maybe it just felt louder with every second, growing like some sort of sonic nightmare. I jumped out of bed and grabbed my phone. Of course, just my luck, I couldn't turn off the damn thing on the first try. Damn it, why won't you stop ringing? I shouted nervously, tapping furiously on the screen. Finally silence. I got out of bed slowly and began getting ready. Took a shower, got dressed, and packed all the necessary things into my bag. Then, locking the door behind me, I rushed out of the apartment. I'm sitting in class, listening to the lecture, trying my best to jot down the important information. But for some reason, all my thoughts are still there in the dream. Strange sensations that can't be put into words. Sometimes, for just a split second, I even catch myself noticing that instead of the terms dictated by the lecture, my notes begin to fill with images and phrases from my dream. I turn my head toward the window. Just outside, a few birds are circling right beside our classroom. I look at them and instantly remember the ones that circled above the lake in my dream. For some reason, that dream felt nothing like the others I've had in my life. Some of them I never remembered at all, and others faded the moment I got out of bed. But this one, it's different. I'd even say special. Nora, she nudged me with her elbow. What? I asked softly, surprised, turning to look at her. Nora, are you not interested in my lecture? He asked sternly. I am, I replied, standing up from my seat. I've already asked you the same question 3 times, yet you keep staring out the window, not even responding to me. I'm sorry, I was just lost in thought. Could you please repeat your question? No need. Sit down, he answered sharply. I sat back down in silence. There was no point in explaining myself. The best thing to do was to keep quiet. The lecture eventually ended, and everyone began slowly gathering their things and leaving the classroom. Can I borrow your notes, please? I want to copy what I missed, I asked my friend. Of course, take them. Just don't forget to bring them back tomorrow, she said, handing me her notebook. Thanks, so shall we go? Yeah. We left the classroom and headed toward the next one. Nora, are you okay? Of course. Why do you ask? You're different today, distant, distracted. You spent almost the entire class staring out the window. I don't know, I said, shrugging my shoulders. Alright, but if you ever need help, just say so. Thanks, I will, but for now, I'm fine. I left the university and slowly made my way home. The evening air felt a bit cool, but refreshing, a welcome relief after the stuffy lecture halls. To keep myself warm, I stopped by a small roadside cafe and picked up my favorite latte. My thoughts hadn't changed. I still couldn't understand how a dream could feel so real and why the person I saw in it seemed so familiar, so close. Throughout my life, I've had countless dreams, some fascinating, others dull, frightening, or even absurd, but all of them faded away, if not immediately, then within a few hours, leaving no trace or emotion behind. Yet this one, it was different. It felt almost like dreaming while awake. When I opened my eyes, it took me a moment to realize it had only been a dream. His gaze, his voice, our conversation, everything about it felt so real, so dear, that just thinking about it sends chills down my spine. When I got home, I headed straight to my room. I changed into my favorite pajamas, brewed a cup of fragrant tea, made myself a sandwich, and sat down at the desk to rewrite my notes. Oh, I've got so much work today, I sighed. I opened Bella's notebook and started flipping through the pages, one after another, assessing the mountain of work waiting for me tonight. Why is there so much to write? What was I thinking? Not taking notes during class. With another sigh, I opened my own notebook and began copying, page after page. Bella's notes seemed endless. Every time I thought I was almost done, more pages seemed to appear out of nowhere. And on top of that, I still had a mountain of homework waiting. My hand ached unbearably, my nerves were on edge, and the desire to sleep grew so strong I could no longer fight it. Forget it, I've had enough, I said, snapping the notebook shut and heading to bed. I barely managed to drag myself to the bed. Resting my head on my favorite pillow, I pulled the warm blanket over myself and closed my eyes almost instantly. Eyes closing. Finally, I exhaled deeply. I began to gradually sink into sleep. The first thing I felt after closing my eyes was my body becoming weightless and light, my eyelids growing heavy, and my breathing deepening, calm and steady. My thoughts about school started to blur. I felt a gentle falling sensation, as if I were slipping somewhere through my bed. And then that moment arrived, when consciousness lets go of control over everything around, plunging the body into the quiet depths of sleep, where time and space lose all meaning. I'm sitting on a bench. The rhythmic splash of the fountain fills the background. The cool air from the lake brushes against my sun-warmed skin, sending pleasant shivers across me. I rise from the bench and slowly walk toward the water's edge. Taking off my shoes, I step barefoot into the lake. Near the shore, the water is gentle and warm, like freshly brewed tea, wrapping my skin in comforting sensations. A few steps further, and the warmth gives way to a coolness that makes delightful goosebumps run along my body. I wade slowly along the shore, splashing water with my feet. Out of nowhere, on the horizon, I see the silhouette of a man again. It must be Aaron. I raise my hand to shield my face from the sun, which blinds me and makes it hard to see his features. The closer he gets, the more certain I am that it's him. "Hey, what are you doing here?" he asks, surprised. "You again?" I mutter under my breath. "Sorry, didn't hear what you said?" he asks again with a smile. Though I feel like he did hear me and is just pretending not to smooth things over. Well, it seems fate keeps bringing us together, doesn't it? I lower my gaze. The sun reflects off the water in golden flashes, slightly blinding me, and I pretend to watch the waves, avoiding meeting Aaron's eyes. Inside my chest, strange sensations swirl. My heart tightens, my pulse quickens, and my breathing grows short and uneven, as if I'd been running. I don't know if it's fear, embarrassment, or something deeper. Step further into the water, letting the coolness rise above my ankles, hoping it will wash away my restlessness. I feel his gaze on my back, but I don't show it. Everything happening here feels strange, yet painfully real. I'm certain this is a dream that continues. The thought sends a chill down my spine. Don't you think this is all strange? Why? I'm sure this is a dream. A dream? He asks, surprised. And why do you think it's a dream? Remember what you were doing before you got here? You're weird, he mutters. Suddenly, Aaron goes silent. His eyebrows furrow, as narrow, and he glances to the side as if trying to find an answer somewhere along the shore. I watch him carefully. Every small movement speaks of inner struggle and a desperate attempt to remember something. Well, you think? I'll tell you. Before coming here to this shore, I was writing notes. I got tired and went to sleep, and here I am again. But how is this possible? And why can't I remember what I was doing? I have no idea how this is even possible. Our first meeting, that was a dream too, wasn't it? Yes, a dream. But why didn't you realize it right away? That's a mystery to me. Everything that's happening here seems to be a mystery. Why do you understand that this is a dream, but I don't? I don't know, but maybe this is all for a reason, I said, heading toward the shore. Wait, since we're sharing the same dream, maybe we could get to know each other better, he said with a smile, catching up to me. I had the feeling that he didn't really believe in what was happening and was just going along with me so as not to upset me. Or maybe he had some other reason I didn't know, but it made me even more annoyed. So, has your memory returned? Do you remember what you were doing before coming here? I asked with a smile, looking at him. As soon as my feet touched the warm sand, I slipped on my sandals and walked along the shore slowly, hoping Aaron would follow. There's not a single memory in my head of what happened before he shouted, catching up to me. Then we need to figure this out before we wake up. we should just let it happen naturally. You speak so lightly, as if you don't realize how serious this is. But what can we change? I don't know, I sighed. I feel like we've known each other for 100 years. I stayed silent. I didn't want to admit that I felt exactly the same. Saying that emotions were swirling inside me would be an understatement. Tell me something about yourself. What is there to say? I study at university. I live in a one-room apartment. Our conversation seemed to flow naturally. We laughed, argued, sometimes just sat in silence, but that silence was meaningful too and allowed us to feel each other's presence and grow closer without words. And even though he couldn't remember much of his life, it didn't stop us from getting to know each other. You know, I love cinnamon, just everything: pastries, meals, drinks, man. Yeah, are you serious? I almost shouted, then laughed. And you don't? No way, it's the nastiest thing ever. Are you joking? He exclaimed in surprise. Suddenly, Aaron seemed to start losing color. At first, I didn't understand what was happening. My first thought was that it was just a trick of the light, but with every passing second, he grew more and more transparent. Aaron, what's happening to you? I asked in a voice trembling with fear. I don't understand, he said, bewildered, looking at his hands, which were already almost transparent. Then it hit me. Aaron was probably waking up another minute, and he would simply dissolve into thin air. Eyes opening. I woke up abruptly, springing upright in bed. My heart was pounding as if I were trying to catch a high-speed train. I sat up and pressed my hands to my chest, feeling my breath catch in my throat. I forced myself to calm down, taking a deep breath in and exhaling. Again inhale, exhale slowly. It seemed to help. My heart began to ease its frantic rhythm, and the pounding in my veins started to subside. I was overwhelmed by mixed emotions, as if a storm was rising somewhere deep inside me. Fear, confusion, and happiness, all tangled together. Well, time to start the day, I sighed. I got out of bed and went through my morning routine, brushed my teeth, made the bed, chose what to wear, took the last sip of my now almost cold tea, and headed off to class. Dreams are dreams, but here this is reality, one that has to be live every single day, I muttered under my breath. The classroom was half empty. Only a few students were already sitting at the desks flipping through their notebooks. I took my favorite spot by the window. A few minutes later, Bella was sitting next to me, as always smiling and full of energy. So, did you copy the notes? She said, smiling. What would you do, dear, if it weren't for this encyclopedia? You'll see, he'll definitely ask you to check your notes today. I told you so, she whispered. Of course, I said, handing my notes to the lecturer. Well done. You keep your notes diligently. Don't drift off into the clouds again, he said, reviewing my notebook and handing it back. The lectures ended, and the day slowly tilted toward evening. I felt a strange excitement, the same intoxicating anticipation when you want to get home quickly, wrap yourself in a blanket, and dive back into sleep. I was overcome by an irresistible desire to fall asleep as soon as possible, as if I were waiting not just for rest, but for a meeting or a first date. And I also had an unstoppable desire to tell Bella about all this strangeness happening in my life, about the dreams, about Aaron, about my strange feelings for him. But at the same time, with the strong desire to share this, I was held back by doubt about how she would react. I could already imagine Bella laughing and brushing it off. "Come on, Nora, it's just dreams. Have you lost your mind?" And that thought made me stay silent. "Nora, shall we go?" "Let's go!" Bella, as always, tirelessly told her stories. Everything she said sounded vivid and lively, like excerpts from some super interesting movie. She gestured, laughed, and constantly shared every detail, making me smile involuntarily. Her day always seemed more like an adventure. I looked at her and didn't understand how one could miss the bus, lose their keys, get on the wrong trolley, meet a long-forgotten acquaintance, and tear it back all in one day. Usually, my day next to her seemed calm, even a bit boring. But not now. This time, my stories surpassed all of Bella's stories combined. I tried hard to hold myself together and stay silent, but I couldn't. "Bella!" I interrupted her. "What?" she asked, stopping. "I'm going to tell you something, but promise me you won't call an ambulance after this," I said, laughing. "I'll try, but I can't promise anything," she joked in reply. "Do you believe in prophetic dreams?" "Well, in principle, yes. Once I dreamed of a wallet with poop, and then I found 100 Bourbonnies at the bus stop," she laughed. "I'm serious, but that's so funny," I said, laughing. "Well, tell me, where are you leading with this?" "I've been dreaming about the same boy for several nights in a row. His name is Aaron. We meet by the lake, and it's so realistic that I wake up feeling like it actually happened." "Stop watching melodramas at night, and it will pass," she teased. "I'm serious. Each next meeting is like a continuation of the previous one." "Well, tomorrow you'll tell me what you dreamed today. Just don't watch series at night." "I'm telling you serious things, and you're joking," I burst out. "Who's joking?" she grumbled in response. After a few minutes of laughter and jokes, our conversation gradually quieted. We got up from the bench a few meters from our institute building, and when we reached the end of the street, our paths diverged. The air already smelled like evening, and I slowly headed home, tired but with a strange feeling of anticipation. I walked quickly, almost running, with one thought in my head: get home as soon as possible, fall asleep, and see him again. I finally opened the door to my room. The silence that filled it seemed like the best thing that could happen to me right now. I dropped my back on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed. Suddenly, a wave of unease crept into my soul. I didn't understand why, but I felt anxious, as if at this very moment my fate was being decided. Now I just need to go to sleep. And then what? What if Bella is right and these dreams are nothing more than a creation of my imagination? What if he doesn't appear in my dreams tonight? What then? These thoughts kept spinning in my head like a broken record, dragging anxiety along with them. I lay down under the blanket, cupped my pillow, and took a deep breath. My heart was pounding, sending endless waves of excitement through my body, while my mind kept replaying the same thought: was it all real or just a product of my imagination? As closing, I'm sitting again on the same bench as before. The air here always feels special, slightly cool, with a hint of freshness and dew. Everything looks the same as last time, like a frozen set waiting for a play to begin. The only difference is that this time I'm not confused, because today I know where I am, and I know I'm waiting for Aaron. From time to time, I glance around, but there's nothing but silence, just the sound of water and the gentle rustle of wind through the trees. I pinch my arm without thinking, to make sure that everything happening here is really real. My heart beats much faster. Every second stretches endlessly. I catch every sound, every breath of air, hoping that any moment now I'll hear familiar footsteps behind me and feel his presence. And as if in response to my words, a shadow appeared out of nowhere, at first blurry, but with each step it became clearer and clearer. It was him, Aaron. I stood up from the bench, my heart pounding even faster in my chest, but I pulled myself together and took the first steps toward him. Within a few minutes our eyes met, and this time he wasn't surprised by our encounter either. "Hi, we're here again?" he murmured. "Yes, I told you, this is no coincidence." I still can't understand how this is possible. It's a mystery for me too, but we need to solve it as soon as possible. But again, I don't remember how I got here. I, on the other hand, remember everything down to the smallest detail. What do you suggest we do to figure this out? First, we need to understand why you don't remember anything. "I think it won't be that easy," he said with a sigh. "Yes, but we have no other choice." "I have an idea," he said with a smile. "I'm even afraid to ask what exactly." "If it works, I think you'll be thrilled," he said, smiling. A mischievous spark appeared in his eyes, one I hadn't seen before, a mix of confidence and childlike curiosity, and that made me like him even more. "Well, don't keep me waiting. You have no idea how curious I am. You know that in dreams, anything can happen. In dreams, there are no horizons, no rules." "Oh, and where are you reading this?" I asked with curiosity. "I think we're just stuck in this place, this lake, this park, this bench." "If this really is a dream, then we aren't tied to the lake. We can create something else, create a new story," he said joyfully. Aaron looked so inspired, as if he believed in his idea 100%. His voice sounded confident and determined. "How do you imagine that?" I asked hesitantly. "Just like that. Close your eyes," he smiled. Why should I close my eyes? Aaron lowered the tone of his voice and no longer sounded as insistent as before. Now it was gentle and somewhat quieter, as if he were trying to convince me to trust him, though I hesitated only for a moment. Then I closed my eyes. "All right," I said. "Good, now take my hands." He stood in front of me, holding out his palms. Touching his hands, I felt warm thrill, alive, pulsing. My heart raced wildly, as if before a leap into the unknown. "Where do you dream of going?" he asked. I don't even know," I answered uncertainly. "Come on, name the place, any place, where you want to be, not here, somewhere you've never been before." "So let's imagine Paris together, but don't open your eyes until I say it's okay, alright?" he said gently. His words sounded soft, like a piano melody. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with air. In my mind, images began to form: the Eiffel Tower, the lights of Paris at night, the aroma of fresh croissants with coffee. And suddenly, I felt something change. The ground beneath my feet felt different, and even the air seemed altered. "I think it's time," he said tenderly. "Time? For what?" I asked, squinting my eyes even tighter. "I think it's time to open your eyes." "Shall we do it on 3? 1, 2. 3, I said quickly, and opened my eyes. At that moment, my breath caught. It felt as if the whole world had turned upside down. The air no longer smelled of damp earth or the coolness of the lake. Now it was filled with the aroma of coffee, fresh pastries, and something sweet with a hint of bitterness, perhaps the scent of chocolate. Before us, Paris! Beneath our feet, the stone cobblestone stretched out. Above us, countless lanterns were about to light their flames. Somewhere nearby, a piano played, light and tender, its melody dissolving among the chatter of people and the clinking of dishes in the nearby cafes. We stood in the middle of this beauty, and I could hardly believe my eyes. In the distance, through the branches of trees on the rooftops, the Eiffel Tower rose tall, majestic, like a guardian watching over this moment. "This is Paris, we're in Paris, Aaron," I said in awe. "I told you we could do it," he said, letting go of my hands. "We're really here," I murmured, looking around. "Yes, this is our shared dream of Paris. Strange, isn't it?" he said with a sigh. "Now I don't want to wake up." "Me neither," he whispered. He took my hand again, this time even more firmly, and we slowly walked along the old cobblestones. Every sound, every scent seemed alive, the clink of cups, the aroma of coffee, distant laughter. We stopped in front of a small yet charming cafe on the corner, adorned with flowers. Above the entrance was a sign Café de Flore. Inside, an antique piano decorated with magnolia flowers stood, and a young, beautiful woman played chess on it. "You put that quite well. I just wish this wasn't only a dream when I'll forget the moment I wake up," he said with a sigh. And in that instant, something in the air seemed to change. The world felt warmer and the music softer. Paris itself seemed to breathe in unison with us. We drank coffee, laughed, and simply enjoyed the Parisian evening. "I'll find a way. I'll figure out why we're here." Once I wake up, I won't remember anything, unfortunately. But I'll remember everything. And what can you do on your own? The same thing I can do with you," I said with a laugh, trying to lighten the mood. "What if I'm just a figment of your imagination, and that's why I can't remember anything?" "Well, let's start with the fact that you do remember, but not everything." "That doesn't make me feel any better." "At least we can still hope you're real," I said cheerfully, laughing. "But seriously, we can't keep living like this forever." "I don't think it's a coincidence. Everything has an explanation. We just need time." "Nora, again, but this time, it's you," he explained, pointing at my hands. "Damn it, why now?" I said nervously. I looked down at myself and froze. It felt as if someone was erasing me from this reality with an invisible eraser, just like before, only this time, it was happening to me instead of him. And somehow, watching myself disappear was far more terrifying than when it happened to Aaron. "I'll be waiting for you on our bench by the lake." "See you later, Nora." Eyes opening. I suddenly opened my eyes. The alarm clock was screaming across the whole room. I hate the sound more and more every morning. I sighed and turned it off. For a long moment, I couldn't get my bearings. Everything around me seemed far too bright. My chest felt as if it were filled with concrete, so heavy that even sitting on the edge of the bed felt like a test of strength. Finally, the sound of the alarm stopped echoing in my ears. Now there was complete silence. No sound at all, except for the occasional car passing by outside the window. I sat on the bed, took a deep breath, and exhaled sharply. yesterday's coffee still sat, the one I had made but never got around to drinking. This would do, I shrugged and took a sip. The coffee was cold but drinkable. As I sipped, an idea flashed through my mind. I opened the search on my phone. How do I even ask this properly? I muttered under my breath. My fingers trembled slightly, as if from the cold, though the room was warm, probably the nerves making themselves felt. What if I type, "Why do I dream of the same person?" I tapped on my phone. But the internet offered no clear answers, just articles, expert opinions, but nothing like my situation. I tried a few more variations, sure dreaming, how to meet someone in a dream, but alas nothing, not a single hint of what was happening to me. Parallel dreams, maybe I should try that, I muttered to myself. I scrolled through a number of strange articles. Suddenly, on one site, a woman wrote, "There are rare pairs whose dreams intertwine, and it is a sign of a special connection. But legend says if they do not find each other in the world of the living, the connection will be lost forever. It is proven there exists an ancient mythical curse or blessing of parallel hearts. If they do not find each other in time, the bond can be lost forever." At the bottom of the text, I found the woman's phone number, quickly jotted it down on a piece of paper so I wouldn't lose it by accident. Phone call. I jumped when the phone rang loudly throughout the room. I slowly approached it, but for some reason, I didn't dare to look who was calling. My heart was beating so loudly that I almost drowned out the sound of the ringtone. The screen was flashing, but I was afraid to look down to see who it was. Closer to the screen, my hands trembling, my heart still pounding like crazy. "Come on, it's just Bella," I muttered with a sigh. "Hello," I said, picking up the phone. "Hi, why didn't you answer for so long?" "Why so long? As soon as I heard you, I picked up." "So what's going on?" she added, laughing. "I don't understand what you mean," I asked curiously. "How's your nighttime admirer?" She laughed. I fell silent for a few seconds. I couldn't decide whether to tell her the truth or not. If I told her most of it, she would probably laugh again, since she doesn't really believe in such things. What should I do? How should I act? "Hey, why are you silent?" I'm not silent, I said, flustered. "Well, come on, I'm dying of curiosity." "Ah, see, I told you, it's all your little TV shows," she said cheerfully. Yeah, you did," I muttered. "Why are you in a bad mood?" "I'm just tired. Other than that, everything's fine." "It's your day off today. Go lie down and rest." "Yeah, that's probably what I'll do." I thought maybe we could go out somewhere and have some fun. "No, Bella, don't take it the wrong way. I really want to rest." "Alright, if you change your mind, call me," she said in a disappointed voice. "Yeah, bye. Don't be upset," I said quickly and hung up. I sat down in my chair and let out a sharp breath. It calmed me down a little, though the tension inside hadn't completely disappeared. Lying I really hate it. It's always hard for me to hide the truth, even the smallest thing, because I immediately feel a weight in my chest. But right now, I had no choice. I didn't want to hear Bella's teasing or mockery. "Well, it is what it is," I said, turning my head toward the desk. On the desk lay a scrap of paper with the phone number I had written down from the article's author. I hoped that it was really a phone number and not just the author's slogan digits were slim. But if you don't try, you'll never know. I dialed the numbers into my phone. They felt like a key to the answers that were troubling me so much. I took a deep breath, gathered myself, and pressed the call button. long rings in the receiver were driving me crazy. My heart felt like it might not survive the tension. I sat in the chair, elbows resting on my knees, listening to every ring, expecting someone to finally say the longed-for hello, but in response, nothing. No one picked up the phone. Alright, don't give up, I tried to calm myself. If this really exists and it's not just my sick imagination, then not all is lost. I have to keep searching. Phone call. Suddenly, the sound of a phone ringing broke the silence. I jumped. It was an unknown number, but I already knew those digits by heart. Hello, I said, picking up the phone. Unknown caller, hello. You caught, a female voice replied. Yes, I don't even know where to start, I said, barely daring to speak. Unknown caller, did something happen? Just tell me, she added, sounding worried. Yes, something did. You wrote an article about parallel hearts, remember? On the other side of the line, there was a long, suffocating silence, the kind that eats away at you from the inside. I could hear her breathing into the receiver, yet she said nothing, and it made me a little uneasy. Are you still there? Hello? Unknown caller, yes. Can I come to you? Of course. I'll send you the address by text. Unknown caller, I'll wait. She hung up, and I felt a cold emptiness inside. I stared at the phone screen. There was no name, no photo, just numbers, yet somehow they carried such hope. My fingers, as if on autopilot, typed out the message with the address. I pressed send, and it felt like a heavy weight had lifted off my shoulders suddenly. Everything felt lighter. I'm on the right track, at least I really hope so, I murmured to myself. The hours until the woman's arrival stretched into what felt like an eternity. I paced the apartment, trying to find a place for myself, but I couldn't. My mind was filled with only one thought: I need to figure this out and get back to Aaron. I promised both myself and him. A few hours later, doorbell ringing. The apartment was completely silent until the sudden sound of the doorbell shattered the quiet. It startled me so much that it felt like drums were pounding in my chest from fear. I placed my hand on the door handle, closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and exhaled slowly. I repeated this several times until I felt some relief. One moment, I'm opening. I tried to answer calmly. I slowly turned the key in the lock and opened the door. Standing before me was a woman, about 35 years old, beautiful and well-dressed. Good afternoon. Please, come in, I said. Good afternoon. Thank you, she said as she entered the apartment. My name is Nora, I said, extending my hand in greeting. Nice to meet you. I'm Alexandra, she added, returning my handshake. Thank you for coming. Please, have a seat in the room. What made you interested in my article? Tea or coffee? I asked with a smile, interrupting her slightly to ease myself into the conversation. Coffee, please. I set the kettle on, and while it boiled, I took a moment to catch my breath. My hands trembled, betraying me, and there was nothing I could do about it. Once the aromatic coffee was ready, I returned to the room with the cups where Alexandra was waiting. A momentary silence hung between us. Even the ticking of the clock seemed too loud. It felt like she, just like me, was wondering how to start the conversation. Here you go, I said politely. Thank you, she said, looking me directly in the eyes. I sensed that she was still waiting for an answer to her question, so now I had no choice but to start the conversation on this topic first, even though it felt like torture for me. Yes, it's all true, and if you're experiencing this now, then you are special. I froze, her words cut through me like a sword. Special? It sounded both thrilling and already stirred this mess. I had to see it through to the end.
You've seen dreams like this too? I asked cautiously.
Yes, but because I knew nothing about it at all, I lost the connection, she said with a sigh. It's possible to lose it all? Asked, frightened. Unfortunately, yes. And what do I need to do? You need to find him in real life.
He doesn't remember anything, absolutely nothing that happens in real life, I said, exhaling slowly.
The longer these dreams continue for you, the shorter they will become, and then they'll just disappear. That's it, she whispered, tilting her head. But I don't even know where to start searching, I murmured, clutching my cup tightly. Everything matters: details, emotions, the places where you meet. Even the smallest things can become a key. Dreams are doors that led to reality, she said in a calm voice, taking a sip of her coffee. But I don't understand. You will succeed. I believe in it. It's time for me to go now, she said, taking the last sip of her coffee. If anything, you have my number. Call me, she said, and left the apartment. I locked the door behind her and stood there for a few minutes, my forehead resting against the cold lid. Then I turned and went back to the room. I lay down on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, barely blinking, trying to process the information I had just received. It all felt like a joke. It was hard to believe that any of this was truly happening to me. Of course, I could just leave everything as it is. Alexandra did say there's an end to all this, so sooner or later it would fade away, though deep inside I don't want it to. I felt drained. That conversation had taken the last bit of energy from me. I needed to find a way to keep Aaron from forgetting the dream. Somehow I felt like our reality depended on that. A shared reality, I sighed quietly under my breath.
I sat on the bed, pulling my legs close and wrapping my arms around them, trying to think. What could I possibly do? I muttered endlessly.
I went through countless ideas in my head, but each one sounded like nonsense. My fingers twisted a strand of hair nervously as I tried to catch even a hint of a logical thought or a plan. My mind was in chaos. The lake. It all started there. I need to find clues in the dream to understand if it really exists, I suddenly exclaimed. Outside, darkness had already fallen. I got up and walked to the window. The street light shimmered warmly on the rain-soaked pavement. Fewer and fewer people were left outside. I couldn't wait to finally fall asleep and see Aaron again.
Lying back in bed, I opened the search engine once more and tried to find anything else about parallel hearts, but it was useless. Aside from the information I already had, there wasn't even a trace suggesting that anyone besides Alexandra and me had ever experienced something like this.
As closing.
With every passing minute, my eyes grew heavier and heavier. My eyelids became increasingly heavy. I lay down, wrapped myself in a blanket, and just managed to feel my body begin to lose weight and sink through the bed.
I am sitting on the familiar bench again.
I don't have time to admire the scenery at all. I need to find a clue as soon as possible.
I'll start alone and then continue with Aaron, I muttered under my breath. I carefully walked along the edge of the lake, listening to every rustle, every tiny splash, every small detail. My heart pounded wildly, as if it knew this moment was more important than anything else. At least some kind of landmark, a name, a statue, anything, I whispered nervously to myself. Aaron always comes from the same side, from the alley that leads somewhere behind the lake. I think this is no coincidence. I had to check there.
I walked slowly along the path, examining everything along the way so I wouldn't miss a single detail.
I've never gone this far before, I murmured under my breath. Suddenly, Aaron appeared, walking toward me so casually, as if he were just taking a stroll, not hurrying towards something fateful. His hands rested in his pockets, his steps calm, and a faint smile played on his face. It felt like he didn't care at all about our future. Glad to see you, Nora, he muttered as he approached me. I found out something about us, but we have very little time, I added nervously. Why so little? He asked, frowning. I found a woman who went through the same thing. What did she tell you? She also had dreams, she also met someone in them, but then she lost the connection. What do you mean by lost the connection? I told him everything I had learned from Alexandra about the dreams, about the bond between people that slowly weakens, and how, if we don't find a way into reality, we might never meet again. As I spoke, Aaron stood silently, listening attentively, sighing a few times but never interrupting. Only when I stopped speaking did he look up at me, take my hand, and say, "We can't let this happen." That's why I'm here, and right now I'm searching for a clue to find this lake in the real world. Why the lake? I think since everything started here, there's a good chance the answer is here too. Makes perfect sense, he agreed. Will you help me search? Yes, but what exactly? I don't know, anything that could serve as a landmark, a site. We continued walking along the shore, looking for clues. Then I remembered the fountain. I had always heard it splashing, but never paid attention to what it looked like. Maybe it's thanks to it that I can find this place in the real world. Let's go to the fountain, I shouted and pulled Aaron along with me. With every step, the sound of water grew clearer and louder. As we approached, I noticed that the fountain stood on a small raised platform, covered in ivy, the leaves seeming to embrace the stone basin. Its base was adorned with patterns resembling intertwined waves and symbols I couldn't recognize. And the water, I hadn't seen water so crystal clear in a long time, as if the fountain itself was a natural spring. The water fell gently, splashes flying in all directions. It was incredibly beautiful. Yes, you're right. There's something special about it. I examined the fountain from every angle, trying to memorize every detail so I wouldn't miss anything. Aaron stood a little aside, but his gaze never left me. You're studying it so carefully, but what difference will it make? He said quietly. I'll find it, and maybe thanks to this, I'll find you, I muttered, looking at him. But what's the point if I won't remember anything, even if you find me? He said, lowering his head. I have an idea for that, I said, smiling. In the moment I took a step toward Aaron, everything around me seemed to tremble. Then the colors began to fade again. The green ivy leaves lost their richness, the sky turned gray, and the water in the fountain became colorless like glass. I glanced at Aaron, who had nearly turned pale, then at my own hands, which were almost transparent. Nora, you're waking up, he shouted. I'll find you, I promise. That was the last thing I managed to say. Alarm clock sound. Eyes opening. The light hit my eyes sharply. The alarm clock was screaming through the apartment again, even though today was supposed to be a day off. Damn it, I forgot to turn it off again, I shouted, irritated. I felt my body refusing to obey. Every movement came through a heavy fatigue. My head was ringing, as if bells were clanging inside, and my eyelids felt so heavy, as if made of concrete. I sat on the edge of the bed, taking a deep breath of air that seemed far too thick for my lungs. It felt like I had slept for only a second. Every time I returned from sleep, it became harder and harder to wake up. I didn't feel rested, didn't feel recharged, as if sleep itself was now taking away my energy instead of filling me with new strength. I got out of bed and quickly brewed myself a coffee to wake up at least a little. I sat at the table and opened my laptop to look through photos of city parks, lakes, any places where such a fountain could stand. Searches on the internet were It was on a raised platform entwined with ivy, with crystal clear water, too clean for an old fountain.
Maybe I need to look for the source, I whispered.
I started entering different search queries again: city springs, spring by the river, but nothing, just emptiness.
I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes.
Think, Nora, think, I kept muttering to myself. I wanted to give up and live my life as usual, but I'm not the type to give up. I took a deep breath and started searching again. What if spring that feeds the fountain? I murmured and pressed the search button. I scrolled the page up and down with the mouse. One site caught my attention. The headline in large letters read, "Unique Antique Fountain, Pride of Our Region."
I clicked on the site and started reading carefully.
Found it! This is it! Exactly what I needed! I shouted, jumping in my chair.
At the bottom of the site was the address of the place. I quickly put on my jacket, zipped it up to my throat, grabbed my bag, checked that my phone was charged, turned on the jeeps. The journey wasn't short. By metro it would take half a day, so I needed to call a taxi.
I locked the apartment, called the driver, and stepped outside. I rode in a taxi, watching the cityscape pass by. The journey wasn't short, about an hour and a half by car. The taxi slowly navigated the narrow streets, avoiding traffic jams. I could feel my heart pounding with excitement, and my hand suddenly gripped the strap of my bag so that my trembling wouldn't be noticeable. Every building, every tree felt like a landmark. I carefully scanned every man walking by, as if Aaron could appear at any moment. On the horizon, I could already see a small park with green foliage. This was exactly the place I was heading to. The article had mentioned a lake there. I was certain this was the same lake from my dream. I had no doubt at all. I walked along the narrow path. There was only one, so getting lost or going the wrong way was impossible. Suddenly, a familiar view unfolded before me. My heart skipped a beat. My hands shook so uncontrollably that I could no longer manage them. Before my eyes was the lake exactly as in my dream, crystal clear, with the bench by the fountain in the exact same spot.
I immediately rushed to the fountain. It was in the same place as in my dream. I joyfully examined it from every angle. Everything was identical. I held my hand under the splashing water and, like a small child, happily flicked it in every direction.
Then I turned back to the lake and sat on the bench, the real one this time.
Unintentionally, I began waiting for Aaron's arrival. I had no idea how long I had been sitting there, because at that moment, time seemed to stop for me. "He's not coming," I murmured with a sigh.
A few hours later, I'm standing by the window in the room. Outside, darkness has fallen, and the street of the gently illuminated lane, casting long shadows of trees and old buildings. There's warmth in my heart, though a bit of unease lingers. Soon, I'll go to sleep, and perhaps this dream will be the decisive one. Alexandra said that dreams grow shorter over time, and for some reason, I feel this might happen this time. I hope my plan works, I murmured. I cast one last glance at the now empty street and got into bed. I wrapped myself in the warm, soft blanket. Tonight, the bed feels unbelievably soft and cozy, probably because of my exhaustion. As closing, my eyelids grew heavier and heavier. I tried to think a little more about the lake, about Aaron, but my thoughts began to blur and I fell asleep. Before me, the same lake, the same bench, the same sound of the fountain splashing. The air smells damp and fresh, and a gentle breeze brushes my face, as if rejoicing at my return. Inside, everything flips with excitement. It feels like I'm wasting precious time just standing in place.